The opposition candidate, known as Iro, defeated the incumbent Abdi in a peaceful transfer of power, the kind of democratic transition that most of Africa still struggles to achieve. That's remarkable for a self-declared republic of just 6 million people, one that isn't even officially recognized by any major state. Small, coherent communities succeeded where the grand project of nation building had failed. That is decentralization in practice. Freedom scaled down to what humans can actually manage. But what about the rest of Somalia? The thing is, after years of anarchy, the international community tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. In 2004, a transitional federal government was formed under UN and African Union supervision, and by 2012, the federal government of Somalia was officially established. A state on paper, but one that has never truly ruled the country it claims. Even in 2025, Mogadishu's government survives largely on foreign aid and foreign troops. Its authority rarely extends beyond the capital. At the same time, smaller local states act as quasi-independent entities, negotiating with clans, militias, and Islamist groups. Al-Shabaab still controls large parts of the countryside and collects taxes more efficiently than the official government. So the facade of central authority has returned, but the reality remains deeply decentralized, often by necessity. In other words, the Leviathan came back, but it's missing half its body. So while the world applauds Somalia's return to governance, much of its real order still comes from below, from clans, markets, and private arrangements that never truly disappeared. But as I said, we have to be honest about what didn't work. Yes, the telecoms thrived, trade returned, and markets reawakened. But many other functions of a state never did. Property protection remained fragile, and some places these were only a function of the number of goons and guns you owned. Roads crumbled, hospitals ran out of medicine, and large-scale projects, the kind that require coordination across clans, simply couldn't exist. The economist Benjamin Powell, for instance, studied this period and came to a pretty pessimistic conclusion. Yes, Somalia's stateless era outperformed its old socialist regime in some ways, but it fell short of what pure anarcho-capitalist theory would predict. Markets were strong, but trust was weak. Reputation didn't necessarily matter as much as we might expect. The invisible hand could trade goods, it couldn't restrain warlords. And the thing is, without some credible framework to enforce contracts and protect property, a market is never more than one bullet away from collapse. To many Western politicians, Somalia was proof that freedom doesn't really work. They pointed at the chaos and said, see, without government, meaning of course without rule, there's only chaos and death. But it's only rarely been asked why people survived at all. People never ask how some markets reappeared, how some form of deterrence of crime did seem to work, how entire cities kept trading in the middle of a war zone, and how entrepreneurial individuals managed to innovate a number of industries pretty much out of sand huts in the middle of the desert or cities destroyed from war. Because admitting that human beings can organize themselves without masters would expose the biggest lie of modern politics, or of course politics from any period, that we need politicians more than they need us, that individuals need to be ruled. The truth is, Somalia's tragedy wasn't a lack of government rulership. Rather, it was the collision between freedom and centuries of authoritarian culture, armed and unprepared. The real lesson here isn't freedom fails. The lesson is freedom without an enforced, rational order becomes prey to force. And that capitalism without anyone or anything to protect the freedom of the individual is nothing more than feudalism with better Wi-Fi. Somalia teaches us a hard truth. Yes, a society can survive without rulers.